Okay, just for reference, I got this, but y'all know I don't chug, so I'm not drinking all that. So I split it in half. Mine still has more, and Emily's joining me for my chug because she wants to laugh at me. Are you ready?
No.
It's gonna take like a minute. We're still going. That's why I don't drink.
Heck yeah.
All right, we did it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to Behind the Lines with Gabe and Kev. And yes, it is with Gabe and Kev once again. Kevin, how you doing this week?
Good, man. It's good to be back. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to be on an episode, so I'm excited to make the return, and I appreciate everyone for hunkering down while I was away. So good to be back. Ready for an episode with you, Gabe. Good
Glad to have you back. All right, as we always say, no time like the present. Let's get into it. Looking here at our Week 10 matchups. A lot has happened since you and I last talked, but we've covered it and you're fairly up to date. So we'll jump in at Week 10. My matchup first, as always. Slim Reaper's Retribution gets the win over JSFN. I move up to 7-3. Alex down to 5-5. 156.8 to 122. It was a really good win for me. It was high score of the week. It came down to Smitty needing to put up like over 12 for me to get the high score of the week and not have to Venmo anyone. So thank you, Smitty, for that. Looking at the rosters here, we'll look at Alex's side first. He had a couple of guys really explode, and thankfully I was well ahead at this point. Excuse me. Thankfully, by the time his guys started to explode, I was well ahead. But Jahmyr Gibbs, 38, Caleb Williams, 27, JSN, 20. DeMarcado, who was the streamer for the week for Alex, 13 points. Fourth highest points for him. And then everybody else sub-double digits, really underperforming. Jesus, I keep getting the hiccups. Really underperforming, really bad underperformance for both Cortland Sutton and Jordan Addison. Quentin Johnston only underperformed by about 2 points, but compared to how he started the season, it is, not really great. But yeah, Alex put up a decent score, but I just put up a great score. Obviously, Devon A. Chan leading the way with 40 points. Travion Henderson, who got the nod this week after Ramondre Stevenson was declared out with a toe injury, finally broke out, had a 55-yard rushing touchdown and a 63-yard rushing touchdown. I mean, I'm so excited. Ramondre Stevenson declared out again for the game tomorrow. I will definitely be starting Travion. Sorry, Bennett. He's going to do wonders. I need him to. He's the guy. I need an RB2. He seems like the one. Puka with 17. Nico with 22. Devontae Smith with 17. Justin Herbert, underperformance with only 17 in that kind of weird game against the Steelers. And then Rachaad White with only 10 in that loss to New England. New England finally let up a running back put up over 50 yards rushing. Sean Tucker had 53 yards in the game against the Bucs. So that's the first time this has happened this season. Patriots defense is not who you want your running backs facing. And then, Aronde Gadsden, 4 points. He went down with a knee injury, or at least that's what it was declared initially. His MRI returned back. It's just a like severely bruised quad. So there's a chance he plays this week, but more than likely I'll be rocking with Kelsey in week 11. But yeah, it was great to get the win with T. Higgins and Kelsey on bye. And even with Woody Marks and Juwan Jennings putting up 16, 17 points on the bench.
Yeah, good win for you. It seems like your team is really coming along. Of course, I mean, I'm a little salty about the Travion Henderson thing. I kind of sold him super low, and then as soon as I sold him, Ramondre doesn't play for the next 3 weeks. That's just kind of how my season's gone, I guess. But you're definitely reaping the benefits of that. It is what it is. But good win, 156, great score. Alex with a solid week. Unfortunate, to be quite honest. But our next matchup here, Smithies from Smirnoff.
I was gonna say, you want me to take this one, and then you can take the next one since it's your matchup. That's the way it's ordered,
Sure.
at least the way I saw.
I can take the next two, if that works.
Yeah, we can get back to even. Swifties for Smirnoffs getting the win over Redemption Arc here. Sam also moving up to 7-3, one of 3 teams now at the mark. Eli falling to 7-3. Sam getting the win at 150.08 to Eli's 119.6. And as we look at the teams here, I mean, it was pretty good scores all around. Looking at Eli's side first, Daniel Jones, kind of another underperformance. He's fallen off a bit from where he was. ETN finally starts to perform for Eli. I think he put up like 14 last week, puts up almost 16 this week. Makes the trade look good on his end. He has his RB2. Kyron, great score with 22 points. Tyler Warren with 18. Recent trade acquisition for Eli. Had to replace Tucker Kraft, who's still sitting in the IR. But yeah, really good first week for him. Aaron Jones finally back from that, I think, hamstring injury. 16 points for him. Roma Dunze finally back. Another recent trade acquisition for Eli, 20 points. Got to feel good, at least, about how the trades have gone with ETN, Warren, and Roma Dunze. But underperformance for Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen, who have kind of been staples of Eli's team, aside from Daniel Jones. I mean, I look at the roster and I think Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen are really 2 of the guys who have been there from the start. Unfortunately, Eli loses here with Rashee Rice on the bye. But, he may be rocking with Sam Darnold, he said, the rest of the way, even though he put up 5 points in this game. In a win, they won, and he put up 5 points?
I think I saw I guess it was Brissett threw like 2 pick sixes, or maybe they had a stupid score.
Okay.
I saw highlights of that game.
He didn't throw a touchdown.
He must not have.
Or he did with an ant. I don't know. I'm not going to look into it. Either way, that's a weird game. Weird score line.
I think that was one of those, like, the defense just ran up the score early, and it was kind of just like run the football.
Yeah. Jackson Dart, looking at Sam's side, 26 points. Really good score for him. He did go down with an injury. Concussion. So he's going to be in concussion protocol. He's got a full week to try and get out of it. But, especially with rookies, they seem to suffer concussions more so.
They sent the notification today. Jameis Winston is
starting. Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah. So looks like Sam is going to be rocking with Justin Fields or maybe picking up Jameis for the week in week 11. Either way, 26 points here for Jackson Dart. Really good, send-off score for him to get Sam the win. Unfortunately, he didn't get the high score, but Breece Hall with 19.5, Kamani Vidal with 18, Drake London with 24 points. He's really coming along. Sam drafted him from the beginning. He's been a staple on Sam's team, and now him at 7-3. He's got to feel pretty good. Same thing with Breece Hall. He's finally coming along as well, with those trade rumors circling. Lad McConkey with 20 points, making Sam's, trade for him look a little bit better. Things are starting to actualize. Keenan Allen's targets are going down a little bit. Quentin Johnston's targets are going down. Lad McConkey's are going up. Kyle Pitts, again, underperforms. This guy, man, one of the most athletic players I've ever seen in the NFL, especially at the tight end position. And the ball bounces off his hands like he's got a shield, and the quarterback either just doesn't see him open or he just gives up on the play because Kyle Pitts appears to have a little bit of an attitude on him. But yeah, 6 points here. Somehow he's like tight end 12 or something still. Tight end 14.
He had a deep ball in that game that really, he was open, and it really should have been an easy touchdown, but I think Penix kind of underthrew him quite a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Hit the defender in the helmet. He could have maybe made a play, but it was also like that throw was just poor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that could have been like a 10-point play.
For Kyle Pitts, it's one of 3
a little more
things.
than that.
It's either the ball bounces off his hands, the quarterback doesn't see him wide open, or he gives up on the play because he's got a little bit of an attitude. And I don't know what it is, but people think that this guy is like a top 3 tight end.
I mean, it was sort of like he was supposed to be like the end zone target, is like what he was drafted to be, but then like Drake London came on the scene.
And yeah, Drake London's a beast.
Just a ball hog. Yeah, Drake London's just too good.
Either way, Sam, probably going to look to, upgrade that tight end position before the playoffs. I don't think you want to rock with Kyle Pitts as your guy going into rounds 1, 2, and 3 if you don't get that first round bye. Either way, we've gotten off topic, but Emeka Egbuka, turns it back on against New England. They've got a good secondary. He's the wide receiver 1 now. So, Christian Gonzalez was kind of lined up on him most of the day. Still manages to put up 23.5 points. And then Zay Flowers with 12.1. Good score. Sam puts up 150 here and gets the dub. And yeah, now we've got 3 guys at 7-3.
Yeah, Sam's roster looks very strong. Both very good teams there. Good win. Next matchup here is Riley Reed option, Blue Medical 10. Tal gets the best of me here, 127-106. I actually had a chance going into Monday night. I needed 30 points from Saquon and Christian Watson. I think it was 30 points, and I didn't come anywhere near what I needed. So did not get the win. Maybe I needed 40. I can't recall exactly, but
I mean, you were over-projected to start the week, and then Jonathan Taylor put up fucking 50 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, that was kind of a tough game. That was one of the few football games I was able to watch this weekend just because I was driving home. But I was there for my grandparents, and I stayed for the morning game. Of course, the game was in Berlin, and it was a Falcons loss and a Jonathan Taylor 50 bomb right on my nutsack. So I just kind of gave up on the week when that happened. The rest of Tal's team was honestly pretty pedestrian. Jalen Waddle, 19 points, solid game. Michael Penix was pretty poor in that game. I'm not even sure how he got 13. I guess he had 1 touchdown, but he did not look very good. DeAndre Swift, 14. Darius Slayton, 12. And then just Don Kincaid, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, all very pedestrian games. He was down Jamar Chase, which of course did not help him. But still got the win, still got 127. My team has just been really bad. It's not really getting any better. Jameson Williams seems like he's finally maybe out of step. Christian McCaffrey was reliable all season. He had kind of a downer week. 17 is kind of bad for him. Traded him though. But then I'm now kind of in the outdoor quarterback. I tried for JJ McCarthy this week and that did not work. So I kind of liked the matchup and it was just did not work for me. With Jaden Daniels being hurt. So that was kind of unfortunate. Saquon, kind of a downer week. Christian Watson gets the deep routes. He's kind of just going to be a 6-point guy with like potential for 20, so I wasn't too disappointed.
He's going to catch one deep ball for 40 yards guaranteed, and he may catch a touchdown.
Maybe,
yeah,
and he may get in the end zone. So it's like, if he gives you 6.5, it's like whatever, because he can give you 20. It's just kind of how he is. So I wasn't too disappointed in that. But Alec Pierce seems like maybe he can be some help for me in the Poop Bowl playoffs. So hopefully that kind of stays. He's on a bye this week, but it is what it is. And then Nick Chubb has just been terrible all year, but I just dropped him. So the team's changing a little bit. I was down Brian Thomas, down Terry, down Kareem Hunt. So I kind of did what I could. 106, I wasn't too disappointed with how the team's been playing. So it is what it is. Tal got the best of me, though, and he finds another win, which he had needed. It had been a while, I think.
He was on a 3-game losing streak. I think he was...
Yeah, I know he was certainly top of the standings for the beginning 7 weeks.
I think he was 5-1, and then he lost 3 straight to go to 5-4, and I was the start. Travis Kelce tipping that pick up to give me the win.
Yeah, so he got his get right game against Blue Medical 10. It's a pretty good place to find a get right game.
Kevin,
Blue Medical 10 on the...
I've been hearing some rumblings across the league that, some of the other managers think that you're doing it to yourself. They think that the team name has a curse on it, and you're basically asking for injury.
It probably is, but it's part of the dynasty now. I got the ring with that name, and it's not changing. So.
Sure, and I totally understand it, and I respect it, but I'm just saying I think that some people think you are trying to win the league with one hand tied behind your back.
I need the nerve. I'm giving it one more season. I'll be back next year, and if it's another lost season next year, I might switch it up then.
Fair enough.
It brought me charm once. But our next matchup is free $10, and what is it? Betting it like Meek Mill. Henry with the win over Al, 134 to 111, moves to 4-6, a much needed win if he's going to keep his season alive. Al falls to 3-7, probably sort of seeing the end here, along with me for Al. But Henry keeping his hopes alive with a good game. Huge game from Jared Goff. Josh Jacobs has been great all season. He's got to be top, 8 running back on the season if I had to guess. Derrick Henry has been pretty okay.
Oh,
and
I
of
think
course,
he's like
Amon-Ra
5, 6.
6, yeah, top 8. He's been great. But Amon-Ra finds the end zone like he does every single week. It is kind of crazy how often he scores. Trey McBride seems like just a huge highlight at the tight end position. Really the only tight end this year. I guess Tucker Kraft was doing it great, but the one guy in the tight end position who's been extremely reliable, extremely consistent, and extremely good all season. So shout out to Trey McBride. And now Marv is down for a week with the appendicitis, so I'm sure he'll get even more targets.
It may be longer.
I mean, I who knows? I don't think it's really that crazy of a surgery, but
but it's the thing that I saw said. Well, we can talk about it when we get to Wyatt's team. But the thing that I saw said, whenever you resolve appendicitis, like when you're doing physical exercise or some sort of sport, the core muscles are worked out in almost any like professional sport, and so you're more likely to tear open stitches and like yeah.
Well, whatever the case may be, I know he's not on the IR, so
no. Yeah. It'll be a small injury for sure.
At least this week, and he'll of course be back for the fantasy playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So that would of course hurt
No
Trey
question.
McBride, but I don't even know if it matters. It seems how reliable he's been. DJ Moore with a donut and still puts up 134, and then I know Diggs was in the end zone as well, but. For Al, not a bad week at 111 and nothing crazy. He's got, I think Stafford is.
He had his quarterback tryouts.
Stafford's been unbelievable.
Al had quarterback tryouts and it worked out. Yeah, Stafford is QB2.
Quarterback 2.
Drake May.
26
Drake May is QB1.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
We love Drake May.
I think might be he's also averaging in the 26s. They must be pretty tight on the 1 and 2 fantasy race, but Stafford's been really, really good. Really good find for Al. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to put the rest of the team around him. Chris Olave had a big game with 21. David Montgomery, really big, high-scoring game, was not able to find the end zone, which is peculiar. J.K. Dobbins, I think, I know he got a little bit banged up. That was one of the worst football games I've ever watched on Thursday night.
That was awful.
But
Dude, I texted. I said, "This is the worst football game of all time."
That was really bad. The NFL likes to remind you occasionally that it has horrible football games. DK's been kind of a disappointment this season.
Al traded for him too.
Yeah, he's had some big weeks, but has also just been really bad, especially as of late.
What did he give up? Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Mason. Okay, so no,
honestly,
not a lot.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
But still very unfortunate how bad he's been lately. Maybe a good find in Malik Washington potentially has been definitely very serviceable. And then Colson Loveland, after a big week last week, a little bit of a return to earth, although not a bad game. Mm-hmm. Not a bad week from Al. Went over his projection, but Henry got the best of him in a much-needed win. Henry's team has been scoring, just hasn't been able to get the win column. So I'm sure it was nice for him to get a much-needed win here.
Yes, he reverse jinxed Elrose with the free $10 team name. We've seen some managers use the team name as kind of a momentum swing in years past, and it appears Henry's pulled that maneuver out here, getting a much-needed win and avoiding falling to 3-7. Speaking of 3-7, Baby Want Milky takes a loss here, 79.1 to 101.4. Falls to Wyatt. Charlie falls to 3-7, and Wyatt moves up to 4-6. Very exactly the same position we were just looking at. These are the 2 3-7 dog fights that we had, that me and Eli talked on our last week's slate. Looking at the teams here, we'll go over the shit first. 79 points is never what you want out of a fantasy team, and there was no bench, start sit that would have made this any better. He could have only lost points. Bo Nix, 3.8 points in arguably and Trey Tucker as well, 5.5. And Ashton Genty. Well, he put up a good score because he got in the end zone early with that first touchdown. Yeah. But Bo Nix and Trey Tucker, part of the worst football game of all time. I mean, it was awful. And Charlie had the worst end of it. I mean, Ashton Genty got that first touchdown, and we thought maybe. And then Bo Nix threw 2 picks, and Trey Tucker, who's supposedly wide receiver 1, touched the ball twice. It was gross. Most of Charlie's team is people that are on waivers to start the season, and that's not, sometimes that can be a good thing if you get all the right waiver guys. But Kyle Monungai, Wandale Robinson, Trey Tucker, not great. Not great stuff. Jerry Jeudy, good score for him this week, but he was on, I believe, no, Charlie may have drafted him, but either way, he is a borderline waiver guy most of the time. 20 points from him is the highlight. A.J. Brown with 3.3, also a bad game. He doesn't even really seem, good this year. He's having a bad year.
He's terrible.
Devontae Smith seems like the wide receiver 1 on the team, and I'm loving it. I mean, I've been a Slim Reaper fan forever, since Alabama, and I hate Alabama. But Charlie loses here. Wyatt's side looks a little bit brighter. I mean, he put up over 100. Lamar with 18 underperforms. Jaylen Warren with 11. James Cook with about 11. Troy Franklin highlight in that bad game. He got in the end zone and caught a couple of balls after that as well. 15 points on the dot. Devontae Adams went down with a chest injury? No, back injury. Back injury, lower back, some sort of muscle injury. 19.7 points here, though. Good score for him. Marv with 14.3 before his appendix exploded. Kevin, you'd know about that. And
that was my spleen.
Oh, that's right. And then, the dual tight end start. This is the double tight end option. Apologies. This is what happens when it doesn't work. Brock Bowers 3.7 and Dallas Goedert 8.3. I mean, 2 positions combining for about 12 points is almost rarely going to get you a win. But it does in this instance because Wyatt went up against Charlie. So Wyatt keeps his season alive, even with leaving some points on the board with Parker Washington and Zach Sharp. But he has a chance. He moves to 4-6. If he wins out, or at least wins 3 of the next 4, depending on points 4, he's got an opportunity.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it look brighter for a lot of the lower teams is that it's going to be pretty tight. So there's definitely, I think, a team that's going to be 7-7 that squeaks in.
Absolutely. There may be 2 this year.
Yeah, there could be 2. Which I guess gives me hope, but also, that team's shot. But regardless, next
you're on
next
the edge.
Up here is the Golden Boys and Tet Fuel Camp Mount Steel Beams. 91-68, Noah over Bennett. Stinker matchup. Bennett with the beer chug. Noah moves up with the win to 5-5, which currently puts him as the final spot in the playoff picture. And Bennett with the loss falls 6-4, still 5th in the playoff picture. We'll start with Bennett's team, 68 points. Not really much to highlight here. Josh Allen, not a terrible game. They got slaughtered by Miami, so even getting 21 points in that game, I guess you'll take it as you can. But the rest of his team really not doing much. He got a stick from Romeo Doubs and a
donut.
Really brutal, starting 2 wide receivers for Green Bay and getting 1.5 combined is not good. He also got goose egged by Garrett Wilson. My God.
Donut.
Jeez. And I know Garrett Wilson is hurt now. I'm not sure. Was he hurt in the game?
Yeah, so he got 4 targets in the first quarter, like in the first 8 minutes of the game, and didn't catch a single one of them, and then got hurt on the last one.
Damn. But down week for Bijan, it happens. Algier got in the end zone twice, so kind of unfortunate there. Quinshon Judkins has been okay since his huge game earlier in the season. Definitely is very serviceable RB2. 10 points isn't bad. Laporta 10 points, not bad. And Keon Coleman 13, not bad. A lot of just not bad starts. And then
it's the donuts.
Awful
it's
games.
Essentially 3 donuts killed you. Because it's a very winnable game. Your opponent put up 91 points, which is what we've seen from Noah week in, week out.
I mean, when you get five players combined for 67, it's not terrible. But just then you get 3 that combine for 1.5.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Not going to work. Beer Chug is due. Still has not appeared yet. If it doesn't appear by tomorrow, TNF
punishment.
He'll have to do his $10 FanDuel deposit. So we'll see if he does that. But this is being recorded on a Wednesday, by the way. But over on the other side of the ball, not a great game either, 91 points, but it is a win. 14 from Jalen Hurts.
And we've had so many
pedestrian
sub 100
again.
point wins. It's been weird this season.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Tyrone Tracy, after the Scatterbo injury, I know he's just trying to fill that spot, has been kind of disappointing.
Not the same guy.
I know Singletary's a little bit more involved, but just not as good, clearly. And now Dart just seems like he gets all the rushing touchdowns, which is kind of unfortunate for Tracy. Barrico Dowdle, 15 points. He's been a very good waiver find. Michael Pittman did nothing in that game. That was all Jonathan Taylor, so that happens. Ted McMillan, 11, continues to be just a very okay wide receiver, too. George Kittle, good game at 23. Alvin Kamara, finally a decent game. He's been really disappointing this season. And Josh Down of a Jonathan Taylor situation. So not a ton of points on the bench that he could have changed. Maybe a little bit more in the QB spot, but then again, starting Jacoby Brissett over Jalen Hurts is not something that you would ever do. Noah, 91 points, not a great week, but he kind of lucks into a win here, which is all that really matters, and moves to 5-5. So season's still very much alive and well. Same for Bennett, despite the horrible week. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to put it behind you and keep going.
Noah not necessarily saves this season. He's kind of snuck out a lot of wins that you wouldn't think so. I mean, he's 5-5 and he's in 7th, which tells you. Oh, actually, I think he might be the solo person at 5-5, or maybe him and Alex are. But either way, he doesn't have a ton of points for. But either way, he's found opportunities to win games, and this is another example of that. He catches Bennett on a down week and a bye week. He has, Bucky Irving injured, George Pickens on bye, Jake Ferguson on bye, and Bennett is kind of forced to roll out this hobbled squad. And Noah's able to sneak out, I think, another sub-100-point win. That's either his second or third of the year. But yeah, that'll do it for our Week 10 games. Let's go ahead and move forward into Week 11. Speaking of Bennett and my matchup, first as always, I'm taking on Bennett here in Week 11. I'm currently pretty heavily overprojected. Sitting at 7-3 and in first place based on points for, projected 139.5 to 115.6. Bennett at 6-4. Let's dive into Bennett's side first. Josh Allen against Tampa Bay. They've had a pretty good defense, and they have for a couple of years. But the main thing is that they've kind of entered into a lot of shootouts versus teams. Even though the defense is good, they've allowed teams to put up a lot of points, and so I'd expect Josh Allen to, put up around his average points at 25. Bijan against Carolina, pretty weak defense, obviously very weak offense. Atlanta's going to have plenty of opportunities. Atlanta happens to play divisional opponents down to the other opponent's skill level.
Horrible.
Yeah, horrible against Carolina, so we'll see. But Bijan, I think he's still going to do pretty good. Quinshon Judkins against Baltimore, that's a matchup that I expect to go very well for Bennett's sake. Baltimore's got a pretty good secondary despite what their depth chart may look like and all the injuries they've had, but their D-line has been pretty suspect. George Pickens against Las Vegas, similar situation to Carolina. Las Vegas has a bad defense and a pretty bad offense, so George Pickens and the Cowboys' offense, which has been explosive, will sure to have plenty of opportunities. Same thing with Jake Ferguson down there at the bottom. Bennett is rolling out the double tight end option this week at the moment. And then Romeo Doubs against the Giants. They've honestly had a pretty good defense this week, and we saw Romeo Doubs put up 1.5 points and go down with a chest injury. He was questionable. He must have practiced full today, but we'll see if he can bounce back and have a better week this week. Sam Laporta against Philly and Keon Coleman against Tampa Bay. We'll see how they do. I'm expecting them to perform right at about projection, but I believe Sam Laporta missed practice today. So his practice tomorrow and Friday are going to be telltale to determine who Bennett has to go with. He may have to end up slotting out questionable Matthew Golden or questionable Justice Hill. And I hate to say it, but Bennett, I think, you and I had some text. I tried to buy Drake May a long time ago, like week 5, maybe week 6, and I offered T. Higgins for Drake May straight up. And Bennett said, no way, I would never do that. And I said, really? I kind of thought I was overpaying a little bit there, but I was willing to do it because I love Drake May, and Herbert was like quarterback 11 on the season. And he was like, no, dude, like, I don't mind having 2 good quarterbacks on my team. It's not my fault that I drafted good. And I was like, okay, man, like, whatever. And I think in this situation, Bennett could really use having wide receiver 25 on his team as opposed to quarterback 1 on the bench. So, something to point out there, not to put you on blast, Bennett, but kind of putting you on blast. Look at my side of the board. Justin Herbert and, yeah, that's it, against Jacksonville. Pretty weak defense, especially with Travis Hunter going down for the season. I'm expecting Justin Herbert to get back to business and do better than he did last week. Achane against Washington, who has been like the 30th ranked defense for fantasy running backs this season. I'm expecting Achane to put up numbers. He's projected 28 at the moment, which is crazy. Travion Henderson against the Jets. Divisional matchup, but the Patriots usually play the Jets really good. We normally suffer against Miami. Ramondre Stevenson already declared out, and Terrell Jennings has his own injury, so I'm expecting Travion to get the workload and put up a good score this week. Puka against Seattle. They've kind of entered into shootouts against other teams, even though they put up 44 last week against Arizona. They let Arizona's bad offense put up 22 points against them. I'm expecting the Rams and the Seahawks to kind of have a blowout battle here. So Puka will hopefully get his. Nico against Tennessee, I'm expecting great things here. CJ Stroud probably back from the concussion. No more General Mills, and the Tennessee defense is awful. Travis Kelce against Denver is kind of the one I'm worried about. So if Aronde Gadsden is good to go, I may decide to swap in him over Travis Kelce because Denver's defense is pretty tough. But, I kind of want to leave Kelce in there because Denver's tough secondary may mean that Kelce's open underneath. He is a veteran. He's really good at finding those spaces in the zone, and I've seen him do that a ton this year already. T. Higgins against Pittsburgh, their defense is usually really good, but unfortunately they've been pretty bad this season, so I'm expecting good things there. And Devontae Smith against Detroit, this will probably be a shootout as well, so I'm hoping Devontae Smith will continue to serve as the wide receiver 1. I'm projected 24 points over Bennett at the moment. I'm hoping it stays exactly at that, and I can get the win and move up to 8-3 and push Bennett a little bit further down the board.
Yeah, I think you've got some really solid matchups. Definitely a lot of really solid matchups. So Bennett's going to have his hands full here. Of course, anything can happen, but just kind of looking at, your hard hitters like Devon Achane with the it's a blessing matchup. Terry Van Henderson is the solo RB with the blessing matchup. Nico might even be beneficial with Davis Mills. He was good with Davis Mills.
He backup quarterbacks feed the wide receiver 1.
Yeah, so maybe CJ Stroud should take a page out of his book, throw it to their best receiver. Crazy how that works. But yeah, this should be a good one. Both teams currently in the playoff picture, so should be exciting. Next matchup is mine, me and Eli, Redemption Arc versus Blue Medical Tent. Projection is at 118 to 104. Sam Darnold against the Rams. You kind of just mentioned that game. Sam Darnold's solid. Our currently QB 15. Doesn't have any rushing upside. That's what definitely hurts him. I've got Aaron Rodgers going on my side. I am streaming QBs week to week. I've got Aaron Rodgers against Cincinnati. It's an absolute matchup play and nothing more.
Is Jaden Daniels confirmed out for the fantasy season?
He's not actually.
Oh, okay.
He didn't even land on the IR. His elbow was certainly dislocated, but I think the injury was a lot better than it looked. There was no integral or no what's the word I'm looking for?
Ligament damage.
Yeah, exactly. So the injury, while it looked terrible, wasn't as bad as maybe anticipated. The biggest worry with that would be that Washington is eliminated for playoff contention and they just bench him. But he's worth holding on to, so I am holding on to him. But I'm going Aaron Rodgers against Cincinnati. He has one great fantasy game on the season, and it was against
Cincinnati.
Secondary, and that is a good offense in Cincy, of course, so hoping for a shootout game. He's got Travis Etienne going against the Chargers. Etienne always kind of gets his. He finds a way to sort of the teams pretty much every single game. I don't expect he's someone to kill me. Kyron, you kind of got to hope when you're facing against him that Stafford just throws 4 touchdowns and Kyron gets none. So, we'll see what happens there. Justin Jefferson been pretty disappointing this season so far for what he normally is, and with McCarthy back, I'm going to continue to pray on his downfall. Rashi Rice against Denver, always scary. He always gets his. Good secondary, but I still think it's doable with how they like to give him play designs, and he's a very explosive player, so he always kind of finds a way to score a ton of points. Kate Otten has really come along lately. It looks like, he's got Tyler Warren on a bye, so that definitely helps me a little bit. He also down Daniel Jones to that, so not having the Colts will hurt him a little bit. But Aaron Jones, fresh off his injury, it looks like he's been really good as of late. And Roma Dunze the most. Yeah, he's old. He probably took a day off.
He's old.
He just had his first game back, or second game back. And then Roma Dunze, who has been
hit or miss.
I mean, he's shown 30-point games, I think, and he's also shown donuts. So I don't know what the predictability is there. I guess you start him and hope. And that's pretty much, there are just players like that, and you just got to do what you got to do. Speaking of players like that, that's my entire roster. So, I mean, I still think that a lot of these guys could score 20 plus. They could also score 5. Christian Watson, Jamison Williams, Rashid Shaheed, this will be his second game in Seattle. I know his first game was really bad, but that's also, new team, new offense. You don't really expect someone who's just freshly traded to have a good first game. That's just not how that's going to work. So I think this will be his real first game, so to say. So maybe we'll see how he looks in this new offense. I'm going to start him and hope for the best. Jamison Williams, boomer bust player, capable of putting up 25 on any given week, capable of putting up 0, never really know. Same with Christian Watson, capable of putting up 0. He give you a huge week. Breece Hall is new to the roster. No more Christian McCaffrey, unfortunately. So it's a downgrade.
It was a needed trade, and we'll talk about that after we're done.
Yeah, it was a needed downgrade, but definitely hurts the RB room a little bit. It doesn't look as strong as it was. Although Breece is still a fine player. He's still RB12 on the season. Got a tough matchup against New England, but Breece is really the only
bright spot,
talented player on the Jets team. Both defense and offense and special teams, probably, to be quite honest. So I assume he gets some checkdowns and can probably PPR his way to a decent game and maybe gets in the end zone. So I'm not too worried about him. And then, of course, Saquon, who's been kind of up and down this season. So we'll see. This team is pretty much hanging on by a thread. I technically only have 7 losses, so I guess I'm not technically out yet. But I know one more and I would be officially done. But
I mean, we could see a 6-8 team make the playoffs this year with how things are shaping up at the bottom of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I suppose it's theoretically possible, but even then I would need a lot of points for. So
a lot of things to go your way.
I would need some really big weeks down the stretch here, which is kind of why I made the Christian McCaffrey trade. And of course, I'm sitting on Brian Thomas on the bench and Terry McLaurin, who's out again. So Brian Thomas might play. If he plays, I'll probably slot him in. I'm just uncertain for who. Because Travis Hunter is out for the season, so he might be okay. But we'll see. Eli's projected pretty heavily over me, so and he is. I'm kind of playing spoiler. See if I can spoil his fun. Second person in the standings versus 11. Very opposite game.
Yes. Yeah, it'll definitely be a good matchup. I'm expecting good things from you. You need to bounce back after the loss last week. Kind of hurt your morale. The team needs you. The players need you, especially the recent acquisitions. You ship off CMC at pretty much a high. I mean, it's hard to sell him low.
He's always the same, to be honest.
But moving into the next matchup, we have free $10 versus Swifties for Smirnoff. This is our first, close matchup of the week. Henry at 4-6, needing a win, and I'm hoping he wins. I'm hoping you win as well to kind of push those other 7-3 guys further down the leaderboard. Henry projected over currently 134.4 to 130.8. And looking at Sam's side first, he is currently rocking with Justin Fields against New England. We've seen Justin Fields this season. He is not good at football. He is pretty bad at that thing that they call football. And against New England, who has one of the top defensive units in the league, and New England hates Justin Fields. I don't know why. I really don't know why, because he got drafted to the Bears and has only been on the Jets for this season. He played for the Steelers after that. But I follow obviously a lot of Patriots fan pages, and New England fans hate Justin Fields, and I think the players do too. Who wouldn't? I mean, am I right?
He's kind of a hateable guy, to be quite honest.
Chase Brown against Pittsburgh. Pretty good defense. Chase Brown has not been that great. He's only averaging 13 on the season. He's kind of come along in recent weeks, and since Joe Flacco's taken over, so we'll see if he can catch those checkdowns. CMC, the recent trade acquisition, great matchup against Arizona. He's currently projected 26.6, I think the second highest that we've seen so far, aside from Devon Achane, which is crazy. And I'd expect really good things from him. Drake London, who is questionable, he must have gotten some sort of injury last week. It's a divisional matchup, and the Falcons are behind in the divisional race. So if he is even marginally good to go, I think that he will push the way through because he knows what this game means. Yeah. Emeka Egbuka against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense has been kind of weak this year. Emeka Egbuka has been great. I'd expect good things there. Kyle Pitts, we talked about him when we talked about Sam's matchup in Week 10. Really don't expect anything here, or you expect everything. And more than likely, regardless of what you expect, you may be disappointed. Lad McConkey, who's also questionable against Jacksonville, and Kamani Vidal against Jacksonville. Good matchup for both those players, receiver and running back. Kamani Vidal, great score last week. Lad McConkey, great score last week. We'll see if he's able to push through that injury and start. And it's like I said, it's a close matchup. Henry only 3.6 points over projected. Dak Prescott against Vegas. Great matchup. Dak's been pretty good this year. He's had some bad games, but those were mostly toward the early part of the season. Josh Jacobs against the Giants. Giants' defensive line is actually really good. Running backs have been shut down consistently, and I can't remember a running back that put up like over 12 on the Giants so far this season. I can name multiple who haven't. Devon Achane didn't. Travis Etienne didn't. Aaron Jones didn't. Derrick Henry against Cleveland, also really tough defensive line. Running backs kind of a tough matchups here. Derrick Henry's not really been that great this year. Baltimore's offense overall hasn't been that great, but at least Lamar is back, so maybe he'll be back to his normal thing, although, tough matchup. Amon-Ra St. Brown against Philadelphia. Like I said, I think this matchup's going to be a shootout, and Amon-Ra is obviously the number one target, so he's going to get his. I would expect something at or above projected. Debo against Miami. Pretty soft defense, and he seems to be fully healed up from the heel injury, no pun intended. So I would expect him to get some clear targets, especially with Terry McLaurin out and Marcus Mariota getting the start this week. Trey McBride against San Francisco, whose defense has been subpar compared to what we'd normally expect from the 49ers. And Trey McBride, like you said, has been the most reliable tight end this season. I would expect him to do great things. DJ Moore, who put up the donut last week and is questionable against Minnesota, pretty tough defense. You could see Henry just make the executive decision and slot in somebody like Alec Iomanner or Tony Pollard over him, even if he plays, just because of how unreliable DJ Moore has been. And then Stephon Diggs against the Jets. Stephon Diggs has been, I think he's first in receiving yards for the Patriots, like second in receptions, only to Hunter Henry, I think. So I would expect him to get a lot of targets from Drake May. But yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the closest matchups of the week, and it's go time for Henry. He needs this win. He's got the over projection. And, Sam is not really down anybody, so he's going against full strength.
Yeah, Sam just sold all of his depth to me, essentially, and is now just very
top heavy. He
much,
built a playoff team 4 weeks before the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart move when you're 7-3, so I see
if
where
you
he's
can
coming
afford
from.
it, yeah.
Yeah, get rid of the bench.
No, it's not a bad idea at all. I'm kind of suffering from too much depth at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to sell the depth and get the hard hitter like Christian McCaffrey. But next matchup here is JSFN Riley Reid option 120 to 111 projection in favor of Alex, who's currently sitting at 5-5. Tal currently sitting at 6-4. Both in the playoff picture, both kind of needing some wins, though, as they're not too comfortable. As there's still a lot of season left, a lot can happen. But this should be a good game here. Caleb Williams here going up against Minnesota. He's been a good find. He's top 10 QB, definitely very serviceable. Has shown some big games, has also shown some bad games. But it looks like he's the guy he's going for. Benching Baker as of now. Whether or not he changes his mind, I guess we will see. But that should be interesting. Jameer Gibbs has gotten his all season. He'll continue to get that. Amari DiMercado, I guess I don't know. Um, he does have a decent game.
He
I'd
did have a
assume he'll
decent
have
game,
an okay game.
but I have him in Dynasty purely as depth. I don't plan on owning him after this season. But I saw a notification today. The head coach in a press conference said that Amari DiMercado is relegated back to running back 2 as of today.
So, well, I wouldn't expect great things. I know Alex is pretty slim at running back this year.
He is the waiver wizard.
Over Ja'Cory Cross-Humera, it's probably fair. He's been terrible for a while, so definitely not the worst option here. JSN, of course, wide receiver 1 of the season, going up against the Rams. He's gonna score 20 plus. He always does. Cortland Sutton against Kansas City. He's been one of those boomer bust players all season. Occasionally Troy Franklin will get in the end zone, and occasionally Denver's offense just isn't working. This kind of feels like it's going to be one of those games. Kansas City's a tough team to score on, and Cortland Sutton may get hurt because of it, although he always has the potential for a touchdown because he is a good deep ball guy. So, you start him and you hope. Dalton Schultz against Tennessee. This is suspect, man. This was the thing today where he was dropped and freshly picked up by Alex 1 minute later. But I digress. Quentin Johnson against Jacksonville.
I mean, not to interrupt, but I think it's definitely suspect, and it sets a precedent. If people in the league think that you can get away with collusion and planning, Sam sent some redacted ass text logs. But one thing that
those did nothing.
One thing that I thought of, you can delete messages, but also one thing that I thought of, he didn't send the call logs. Could have easily been through FaceTime or telephone, which you can also delete. So we clearly saw that Alex wanted him. Sam put $1 on him. To try and prevent anybody else who had $0 who may have been putting in a bid and would have had priority over Alex. And then today Sam dropped him, and a minute later Alex picked him up. Extremely suspect. It's going to be pending further decision. I think Alex, there should be some penance, but I can't figure out what it is.
There's no evidence. It is possible he just has the notifications on. Definitely a little weird.
It's a little
Sam
weird.
Just has an open roster spot for no reason now. But moving forward, Quentin Johnson against Jacksonville. The Chargers pass catchers have been just kind of random. You'll get huge games from one of them or two of them, never all 4 of them. So you never know which one it's going to be. If Gadsden, of course, is out, that helps a little bit, but still kind of randomness. You just start and pray. And then Jordan Addison, who's been I think he's been relatively boomer bust, with J.J. McCarthy, who seems to, he's doing that thing where the young kid has really good games and has really bad games. So another one of those players that you really don't know what you're going to get, which kind of seems to be the theme of this week for Alex's team. So, a lot of high ceiling potential, but of course some floor potential play there as well. So, but on the other side of the ball is Tal's team coming off a pretty solid week against me. He's got Mahomes back from the bye against Denver, still QB3 on the season, even post-bye, averaging 25.6. He's had a good resurgence for fantasy football this year, and he'll continue to do well, I assume. Although he is down Jonathan Taylor this week, so that definitely stings. So he's starting DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Walker in the running back position. 2 guys that have been okay. Kenneth Walker's been really disappointing this year. Zach Charbonnet gets all the goal line carries. And Swift has actually been better than I thought he'd be, although still pretty pedestrian throughout. Of course, Jamar Chase, great season, number 1 overall pick. He'll do his thing. Jalen Waddle against a really bad defense. I think he's probably going to have a huge game. Isaiah Likely, a new ad for Tal. I don't know if that's going to work for him. I would say probably not against Cleveland. But
I've been trying to sell him Kelsey. He won't take
crazier things have happened, so we'll see how that works out for him. And then Jordan Mason, who's been terrible since Aaron Jones came back. I can't imagine that'll be great. And then Darius Slayton, actually, I think is kind of a fun start with Jameis Winston, because that guy throws the ball downfield without any regard for human life. He just doesn't care. He's going to throw the football. So I think that's a fun start. It's against Green Bay, good defense, but should be cool with Jameis. So much needed wins for both of these guys. I think it should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, we're kind of at the point of the season where everybody, doesn't matter who you're playing, what your record is, you need a win. Everybody has different goals. The people at the top at 7-3, they need a win because they want to contend for that first round bye, as there's only one of them. The people who are at the bottom, who are at 3-7 or 4-6, they need a win because they need to keep their season alive and not be eliminated from playoff contention. And then the people in the middle, they need a win because they need to, secure that playoff spot. There are kind of three that are essentially secured with three guys at 7-3. I won't knock on wood, I won't say guaranteed, but they should be locked up, which leaves 4 open spots for 9 guys. So it's going to be a dogfight. Looking at our second to last matchup of the week, 3-7 teams. This is our 3-7 dogfight. We had 2 3-6 dogfights last week, and these are the 2 losers of those matchups facing each other here in a win or go home matchup, essentially. And this is a stinker. I mean, the matchups are full and built, and the projections are 108.6 to 95.8. I'm giddy with excitement. The 12th team versus the 10th team. Looking at Al's side first, who is projected 95.8. Matthew Stafford projected 21. He's averaging 26 against Seattle. I would expect over-projected here. Like we said, we think this is going to be a shootout, and watch it be a defensive, battle now that we've said this.
Always how it goes.
David Montgomery against Philadelphia. He's been really disappointing this season. Al's only hopes are that he actually gets in the end zone and doesn't just get a handful of second and third down carries throughout the game. Javonte Williams back off the bye against Vegas. Really weak defense. Javonte Williams has been great this year. I would expect good things. Dallas's offense has been electric, as we keep saying. Malik Washington against Washington. Wow, that's interesting. They have an awful defense, and they really have nothing to play for. The players just have no motivation. I would expect good things. Jalen Waddle is number 1 on the depth chart, and Malik Washington is number 2 now. DK Metcalf against Cincinnati, another good defensive matchup for Al. DK Metcalf, another player who's been disappointing, but hopefully he can bounce back and put up a good score here. Njoku against Baltimore, especially if Harold Fannin misses this week. This could be good for Al. Tajay Spears and Demario Douglas against Houston and the Jets. You're kind of just throwing guys out there who are normally on waivers and hoping that you're picking somebody that's going to be popping off. And now looking at Charlie's side, who has most of the check marks. He's currently projected 12.8 points over Al. Bo Nix against Kansas City. Bo Nix has been pretty either hit or miss this year, mid-tier in some regards, and then elite in the fourth quarter. Against Kansas City, who's got a tough defense, and this is a divisional matchup. I think this is going to be a tough one. We'll see how he does. Ashton Genty against Dallas. Dallas has a really weak defense, and Ashton Genty has kind of really started to come on in the past few weeks, although he does have bad games from time to time, but this is the defense that you want to be playing. Kyle Monangai against Minnesota. Tough defense, and a guy who's a waiver player. I think he's the the running back 2 on the team behind DeAndre Swift. Wandale against Green Bay. He's the wide receiver 1 on the team now, so he's going to get plenty of targets. Hopefully he catches them. A.J. Brown against Detroit, guy who's been really disappointing. It looks like the sports books are projecting this to be a shootout as well, because A.J. Brown's projected 16 points despite only averaging 11 right now and being wide receiver 40. We'll see how that pans out. Mark Andrews against Cleveland, tough defensive matchup. Xavier Worthy against Denver, really tough defensive matchup. And then lastly, a little shining light, Trey Tucker against Dallas. Really good defensive matchup for the guy who is wide receiver 1 on the Raiders, albeit on a bad offense. And Trey Tucker, who was wide receiver 10 when Charlie traded Brock Bowers for him, and there were 2 scrap players involved who are essentially worth nothing, has fallen to wide receiver 31. So that trade not looking so hot on Charlie's side at the moment. But maybe he has a great score here and is able to keep Charlie's playoffs somewhat alive.
Yeah, I think you covered that one well. Keep the season hopes alive in that game. But next up is Emergency Executive Bowers against Tet Fuel can't melt the steel beams. And what feels like a must-win or go home for Wyatt, it may not necessarily be, but it definitely is kind of getting to that point. And then Noah, the loss would be in a world of pain, so definitely kind of could use the win to make his path to the playoffs a little bit lighter. But Wyatt the favorite projection by 20 points here, 136 to 115.9. We'll just start off here with Wyatt. Lamar against Cleveland. Lamar hasn't been what we hoped he'd be this year, but he still has, of course, the capability of being quarterback one any given week. But it's a tough matchup. Although he does well against Cleveland historically, so we'll see how that goes. Jalen Warren in a good matchup against Cincinnati. That team is just so bad defensively, and you can score pretty much guaranteed 28-plus points. I bet he probably gets in the end zone. James Cook against Tampa Bay, a tough rush defense. He's been so reliable, of course. You got to just start him. But he has shown that in some matchups he does not do great. Troy Franklin, another tough matchup here against Kansas City. He might be a touchdown or bust this week. Devontae Adams against Seattle. We've talked about this game already several times. I think he's in a good spot here. He's also leading the league in receiving touchdowns with 9, which is diabolical. So he has an knack for the end. Stafford loves throwing it to him there. So Dallas Goedert, who also has a ton of touchdowns this year against Detroit in what seems to be like it's projected to be a shootout game. A.J. Brown, not really super present this year. Goddard, I think, has been probably more productive through the air over A.J. Brown. Almost looked like their best, their second best receiver.
He's averaging 14 points. A.J. Brown's averaging 11.
Yeah, there you go. And I guess he is the second most productive pass catcher. CeeDee Lamb against Vegas. I assume he has another great game. Of course, he's only wide receiver 39, but he's missed a ton of time. So if he's healthy, always capable of great things in CD. Tight end start with Brock Bowers, but in a very plus matchup against Dallas. He had the 42-point game or whatever it was, 3 touchdowns, and then the next week he catches 1 pass. I mean, that's just so weird. Of course, Bowers is a guy you always have to start.
Yeah, you can't bench him.
Assume he's going to have a good game. Yeah, because if you bench him, he'll score 40. So yeah, always just put him in there, even I guess as a double flex. It feels more acceptable. Down Marv, doesn't want to start Sharp. So on the other side, though, is Noah here with Jalen Hurts. He's been trying to sell Jalen Hurts to me all season. I keep declining his offers. Going against Detroit, it just kind of depends if it's a Saquon game or if he's going to throw. I think against Detroit, they kind of have to score a lot. So I'm assuming he'll get several touchdowns. Tyrone Tracy has been, I kind of mentioned this earlier, has been really disappointing since Scat went down. Noah's team took a huge hit when he lost Scattaboo. Unfortunately, it's just how it goes. So against Green Bay, it's a tough defense. I would not expect them to have a huge game. Rico Dowdle and Tet both against Atlanta. Carolina destroyed Atlanta earlier this year. I don't know if that's going to happen again necessarily, but Rico's been so good on the ground. Jonathan Taylor just exposed that defense.
You got to ride him.
Yeah, Falcons usually do pretty well in general, but it seems like one player tends to have a pretty good game against their defense. Like one guy exposes them, and they find a way to lose every week. So I'm sure one of those guys will probably do well, considering they're the 2 highlights of that offense. Calvin Austin, I love the spot against Cincinnati. It's a great matchup. Find the matchup. It's good plug and play with guys on bye. So I definitely think this is a good play by Noah here with all of his guys out. His entire bench is out. So I think it's a good stream. George Kittle against Arizona always has a knack for the end zone. So, hope for that. Sean Tucker against Buffalo. I guess he doesn't have any options. So just trying to do his best. And then Theo Johnson. This is a very waiver-wired team.
I mean, good Lord.
Dark times here. So we'll see. As far as buys and injuries go, I think huge edge to Wyatt here. He actually has most of his players, as Noah has pretty much nobody. With both Colts guys gone, Ramondre hurt. Godwin has not played yet this year, so
he played one game.
I guess he played one game, yeah. But yeah, it's must win kind of, I think, for both teams. Noah can afford the loss, but to sort of stay ahead of the curve, and of course helps to get the win and not fall to under 500 at this point. But should be interesting. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, good luck, because Noah's going to need it. This is, we started the week 11 slate with a severely overdog projection, and we're ending it with a severely overdog projection. But yeah, that'll wrap up our kind of overview. We can do a brief review of some of the trades that have happened since last week. There have been a couple. Let's go through and sort by traded. So
It's just one, right?
I think it's two. Eli made a trade. Oh no, I guess there is just one. Wow.
Yeah,
I
that
thought there was
before
another
last
one.
pod, yes.
Either way. All right, well, we'll talk through the only trade, and you're actually the one who was involved. So you move Christian McCaffrey, you sell him at a high of running back 2. I guess Jonathan Taylor's 50-point week just barely passed him up.
Yeah. McCaffrey's been top 3 all season.
Yeah,
It's just where he's been.
Achan's number. I was looking the other day. Sorry, not to cut you off, but the gap between at the time, this was 2 weeks ago. The gap between Christian McCaffrey and Achan was like 25 points, and then the gap between Achan at running back 3 and the guy who was running back 4 was like 40 points.